If you are with him, be our Kadiama Wabemu. You saw better on the Sonatia, if you ever want to Bensu, the Yasa Crab Pro, Lucian for Beliwama, Chedia Ponsin and Equal and Muscle, Moa comment, Usua Usura, Wudi, and Wufemuna, and Provoso, and Washapantia, Wudakoma, Yanko Pongo, Mob Rock, as Yad and Ma. Ukristo ni huntone dia wadawa na watu wamebuna matamfo yi memra miyene daso waso wamesa de ni twapo kokko we nyame kwanso sesenya mi wadaso tiase dia we leader wanso tete botan wa ye bi pen wadaso gina ne nanso enfo we ni tu yase onyanko pon de tiase ogidi ni be hwase fedi asa we ni be kwase nipa besre una wonya hwekra na ye twewase ni gine mu bubu nkotu dia ka senya meme dase Senior can see to be dead in Tino, and so can be brave and so kind of Yabufino. Yet she would do CDB fear and so put down with Chino. The vampire will send back how dear with yes to Timo over the bomb. So I know the Babanama Wabamum, Dinabinama Wakumen. You are the new to nothing, I'm so adding and Iguano. So I know the Babanama Wabamum, Dinabinama Wakumen.
Looking for someone to take your sorrows all away, one to hold you tight and say everything's gonna be okay. I saw bravo praying now, my money who now will never ya, and yet the nights will be trial. Hold on to your faith. There will be.
Yeah, the singer said there will be a brighter day. Good evening, everyone. Now we thank God for giving us another week. Yeah, hi, ABRABO NSEM, hi, Hope for Life Radio. We are sitting on Life Matters. And then on Komo, so please tell a friend to tell a friend that it's 7 p.m. and we are live on Life Matters. So don't go anywhere, stay glued. We will just come your way soon. Yɛhwɛ nneɛma a ɛsisi a ɛwɔ sɛ yɛda Nyankopɔn ase. And the reason why we are grateful to God is that He's protected us and taken us through this whole week. And we are about to enter December. So we've been highly favored to live from January all the way to today. And I know by the grace of God, He's going to take us through 2024. Mehu says, yeah, you're ready for 2025, and very soon, you're better realm, and a whole lot is going to happen. Then, Nedia, you be di home komono, and a very interesting topic. Mostly people hear so much about tech jobs. People talk about those in IT. So the very moment anybody says, "Oh, I'm in IT, I'm in tech," there are a whole lot of misconceptions or some myths about what people expect, and those who are not in the field hold a whole lot of mindset or have different perceptions about that. And then no ako here say you better train komo na emom no afei mpo na wo consider say dia wo into tech. Afei na wo nua bi obi aka ho asɛm akyerɛ wo bibi mpo na wate about it a yɛbɛkom na yɛahwɛ some of the misconceptions. You'll be well prepared and well positioned for a role in tech, whether you're technical or non-technical. And we're going to touch on some of that. And today we are privileged to have this show or this program with Christopher Sampah. And he's a DevOps engineer. And I believe I'm going to learn a lot from this conversation. And we are not doing this alone. We always do this with you each and every Tuesday. And we will open the phone lines and you can phone in on 703-565-2360. You can also follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, all the social media platforms. If you have comments, maybe there are some misconceptions you know and you want to share with us, please let us know in the comment section. If you have any question too, they are all welcome. So please, let's make this interesting. Let's learn together. We are here to learn, to relearn, and to unlearn. So nobody knows it all, and we keep learning until we die. So before we delve right into that, I'll give Chris the opportunity to give the opening remarks and probably let the our whole followers, our listeners know who he is, and maybe a few things before we dive right in. So, Chris, good evening and welcome to Life Matters on Hope for Life Radio.
Hi, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity and the time to speak with you all today. So, once again, my name is Christopher Sampah, and I've worked in tech for the last 9 years, I want to say. So, I guess it's kind of starting from my background. I won't take up too much time, but I got my degree in maths, so my undergraduate, my master's, and I started off as a data analyst. And throughout my career, I've taken on more and more responsibilities, which have required me to learn a lot of new tools, new skills. So I've just progressed from kind of a data analyst to a data scientist to a data engineer, and now I'm working in DevOps slash systems engineering. So I just hope that throughout this program I can be of use as far as clarifying some misconceptions and hopefully answering some of the pressing questions that some of you may have. So thank you all for your time today, and I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, and we are also glad to have you on this show. And I know you have a lot of experience, and I'm also intrigued by how you've changed roles because that is most difficult for a lot of people, especially when they start and get into a particular role. Some become comfortable and are not willing to take on more responsibilities or change, or with a fear that they might not succeed in whatever role they want to pursue. And we usually get attached or we get hooked to what we become comfortable with and just stay with that. So I appreciate your time and for being on the show. Yes. So before we go into the misconceptions, I know there are good, interesting stuffs about tech roles, which I believe most people have a lot of experiences to share. So if anybody has any experience, you can share that in the comment section, like I earlier mentioned. So I will say that being in tech is a good thing, and the tech industry keeps on booming. And tech is so broad. And sometimes when people talk about IT or tech, most people think about maybe cybersecurity because that is what is projected out there. And even in cybersecurity, that alone is also broad. So there are a lot of other roles that are related to, I'll say, security when it comes to the tech world. And people know about software engineering, systems engineering, and there are some non technical roles as well. So it's good if you have any of these roles and you like what you're doing. And the good thing is you don't always have to like it. Maybe you start from somewhere, you grow into the role you want, you master it, and you control it. You don't allow it to stress you out. But no role comes without any hazards or any challenges. No matter how cool it is, there are some one or two instances or incidents that might be challenging that will at least get you to sweat or give you some kind of pressure. So that is expected. And the good thing about tech is there is some flexibility. I wouldn't want to say there's a total flexibility. It depends on the company and what they offer. At least some have a hybrid kind of system where you work in the office on certain type some days and come work from home on some other days too. And there are other companies who also expect you to be in the office all day, and some roles are 100% remote. So all that are good. And when it comes to the perks and the compensation, some also do compensate well. But I'll say it varies depending on the role and what the expectation of the role and the others. So there are good stuffs. Maybe Chris, I will let you touch on one of these good stuffs and why maybe people should get in tech before we go into the misconception aspect?
Sure, sure. So this is, I guess, largely based off of my personal experience and what I've seen among my mates and my colleagues. But one of the, I guess, one of the best things about tech for me is that it's always changing.
Hmm.
So if there's something that's new, um, most likely it's going to be new for everyone, right? Because it hasn't ever existed before. So
Yes.
if you see something that's very like complicated or tough, just know that like it's tough for everyone because it didn't exist in the past, and we're all kind of trying to figure it out. And something that's kind of funny that contrast from the classroom. Um, when you're doing tech on the job, you're expected and encouraged to work actively with other people, search for answers online, because at the end of the day, what's most important is delivering a good product and creating good work. And
Hmm.
if you are spending so much, money to pay tech folks, the expectation is that they find the best possible answer no matter who has it, no matter where it is.
Hmm.
So you're always expected to reach out, ask, search for answers however you can. Um, and it's really not that intimidating once you kind of get settled into a role.
Yep, and I totally agree with you on that. But I've uh, I've spoken with some few people, and based on the conversation, I've realized that whatever is taught in school, or the expectation while in school, is a little different from maybe when you complete and come to the job market in terms of
Yes.
the job search, in terms of the tools or the particular technologies to learn and know or to have experience with. So I'm not sure how maybe this during the school time while the expectation is, and how prepared you become before you complete and start looking for a job. And during the interview, I know we learn even through the interview process, because there are things that you'll be asked which we probably have no idea. It could be that, yeah, you've done a 4-year program, you've done some internships, but there are still stuff you don't know, which is not bad. Like you rightly said, the tech keep evolving every day in and out. There are new ways of doing things. There are new software. There are new tools. There are new technologies that keep on coming. So that is expected. But can you single out or maybe talk about what students, or even if somebody is about to enter school, maybe doing any of these courses that can lead to or help the person land a job? Do you think we have specifics that they should go in for, and what they should focus on or learn as part of their that's called the college course, and extra stuff they should know before they get into the job market?
Mm, great question. So I didn't do this. So I would highly recommend people who want to get into tech do this, but take a computer science class or just like a computing fundamentals class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually taking one right now through like an online like course offering. Um, but I did math and I did like proof-based theoretical math. So I didn't even learn how to code when I was in school. So for those who are looking to get into tech, definitely taking like a computing fundamentals course. And I've had to learn all this on the job, and it's been fine for me. But I think having that strong like foundation in like what servers are or like ports would have been very helpful.
Okay.
So that just like starting off in school, taking kind of the basic computing courses, but kind of like outside of the classroom. I think obviously reading about the tech field. So there are like journals and websites devoted to the tech industry, and you don't have to like study it every single day and read every single article. Just kind of like browsing, following social media, and just
Mm-hmm.
being aware of what's going on in a very passive way. Um, I think that is very helpful. And I mean, in my career, that's helped me immensely. But again, I've worked with folks who did computer science in school, did this stuff in school, and it really helped them kind of level up very quickly. So I'd say, there's the typical computer science coursework.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you have the space in your schedule to do like something math or like light engineering, light physics, maybe that. But computing for sure, and then like outside of school, just kind of like reading up on like tech websites, just like browsing it, following the social media, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is very true. Even if you are not in the tech field, that shouldn't be a deterrent from getting into tech because I know people who have different or diverse backgrounds. Not all of them did computer science or computer engineering, but some are occupying great positions. And maybe that is one of the misconceptions we will talk about. People think tech roles are all just about the technical part, maybe knowing how to code, knowing how to script, or working with a particular tool. No, there are other people who are in tech who are doing marketing. They are marketing the products which are built by these companies. There are people who are facilitating meetings and ensuring people are getting things done. So there are a whole bunch of non-technical roles in tech. So maybe that is a very good point. And I've heard a lot that before you can go into tech or maybe become comfortable, you need to as well do a lot of projects because that will expose you to a lot of challenges into maybe building whatever project you embark on or setting up. And in doing that, you need to have maybe you need to have dealt with a lot of tools, done a lot of research, spoken to a lot of people. Do you believe that having projects while in school, or maybe while thinking about going in tech, or even while having a job, is the best way to improve your current knowledge, or maybe add new skill or knowledge?
Um, I would say yes. Um, again, kind of specific to my case, I learned how to code from doing projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was getting my master's in applied statistics, I did like a little bit of code in the class, but a lot of like my Python and like R and SQL like coding skills came from doing like projects outside of the class or doing like I guess like tech challenges on like LeetCode and other kind of free websites that have these questions. So at least in my specific case, doing those kind of outside projects and challenges was how I actually learned programming. So I definitely recommend that as a way to learn those technical skills.
Awesome. Yeah, and now with internet, knowledge is everywhere. But the difficult part is how to sit down and digest or break down that knowledge and absorb it and apply them. Yeah, so it's always good if you can learn because there are people who self-teach themselves and learn very good roles and become very great in whatever roles they pursue. And another thing too is about boot camp and maybe I'll say formal education. Nowadays, there are a lot of boot camps here and there. Even some schools currently offer or enroll people in boot camps for about 2 3 months, and they build or have them do projects, teach them. I wouldn't say basics because they take them through a lot within that time frame which the boot camp runs. And the issue is, do you think people are better prepared when they go through these boot camps, or they once they go through school, if they land a job, you expect the one who have been through formal education, maybe a 4 year program, or it could be self-taught and boot camps. What is your notion on boot camps and real education?
Mm, good question. So I guess to kind of frame my answer, um, having worked as a data scientist in the past for like 4 to 5 years, I feel like there's like two kinds of roles. So I guess this is more specific to my field, but there are two kinds of, I guess, domains where um, like at like a deeper level data scientist, you build like the tools, like the models, the machine learning algorithms, um, and like that's like your job as like a AI engineer, like data scientist, um, deep data scientist, and then like going to the other side, there's like the data analyst, practical data scientist who takes those tools and answers business questions. Um, so there's, at least for me, there's two sides of the coin. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the data engineer, data scientist, AI engineer who builds these tools, these complex tools, and then on the other side, there's the practical data analyst, data scientist who is answering the business questions that like makes a lot of money, like right there on the spot. So I think like for the people who are building the tools, having kind of that like several years long academic background is more suited. Whereas like the boot camps, the self-taught folks,
Mm-hmm.
um, the more like practical data scientist, data analyst answering like a practical business question, um, that's where their, I guess, prep as far as the boot camp, self-taught, a couple classes, like that's where like their like domain is. And don't get me wrong, like both jobs are mentally tough. Both jobs or both sides pay very well, very highly. So I think um, depending on like your background and preparation,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to determine like which one of those um, domains that you would kind of fall into. And I also want to be clear that they're not necessarily like clearly defined. There are some roles that kind of mix those two, like building the tools versus using the tools to answer practical like business questions. But those are kind of how I see the two kind of um, ways to like prep yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's based on what you said, my understanding is that there is the developer, the engineering part, and there's the administration part. So people who actually build these tools to be used, build the modules and stuff, and there are other people who analyze the data using those modules to make informed decisions. So even if in
Sure.
database, I think we have developers or database engineers who build different data platforms. They work with the backend engineers to have the schema and the structure of whatever project or thing they are building or whatever project they are building. And we have the administrators who ensure the day-to-day running of um, the, the 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 product once it goes into production, and they support and deal with the performance issues and user management and a whole lot. Yep. So maybe it'll be better if you want to go to boot camp, make sure you are going into the administration part for the start. And whilst you are in, you can grow, because if you only learn, then you can keep expanding your knowledge and growing to any role you want. So thank you so much for adding that. I think on that note, I would like to say a big thank you to Kwame Poku for joining us. He's been one of our panelists. Chief Poku Bebia will be a Yakopon and Shah will be brave. And we have now Bole Ato Akot. We have Efia Edem. Obapa Tebua, God bless you for joining us. And I would like to say a big thank you to Nana Hima, Ampoma, Baby I will be also Yanko Ponshao, Danny, Baby I will be yeah, Senior Boga Kobe Cole, Kwame Musa. Thank you so much for supporting us each and every day. Just say five. Also, Baby I will be God richly bless you. Rico Poku, Also, Ericus, God bless you for supporting us each and every day. And Victor, maybe also will be a Yankopon in show. After our joining a higher Hope for Life radio, the sky is the limit. We are discussing common misconception about tech careers. I know a whole lot of people have different perceptions or different things about those in tech. So if you join us, you can probably join the conversation by calling in on 703-565-2360 or commenting or adding your contribution or suggestion or question in the comment section, and we will read and answer that. So Chris, we will dive right into the misconceptions. Maybe I will start with you. So, what do you think are some of the major ones? Because I know there are tons of them, and time will not permit us to talk about all the misconceptions. So we will talk about the major ones, and maybe as we go along, I know we can talk about most of the ones you think other people or you have experienced with people you've come into contact with, or maybe through reading or other stuff. So I'll start with you, and the first question is, what do you think are some of the biggest or the most common misconceptions you have known yourself or you've heard from others?
Sure. So I guess like based on my background, so I did my undergrad degree in theoretical math. I worked for a year as a data analyst, and then I went back to school to get my master's in applied statistics. And in every role that I've had, all technical, all coding-based roles, one of the first things I hear is, um, I could never like do your degree because I'm bad at math. Um, and these are people that like I work with in
Mm-hmm.
every single job, whether it's been at the startup where I first worked, whether it's been at Ernst and Young, the global consultancy where I worked during COVID, um, the quantitative think tank where I worked at in DC, or like even now in this like um, mid-sized company, um, so many people, like people who program like along with me, say like, oh, like my math skills are nowhere near yours, or I'm not good at math, or I hated math in school. So I think like the biggest misconception that people have is that you need to be like really good at math, or you need to be like my level of math to be able to be successful in coding, or even like a science or engineering background is not even necessary, I think. um, so I would say that's the biggest misconception right off the bat that I've seen in every single role that I've worked in. Like, you don't have to be good at math. You don't even have to necessarily be like a STEM person to be able to like code and have a very good coding career.
Awesome. And yes, go. I've heard a lot of people, or I know that a lot of people think you need to be a math genius to be able to even get a tech job. And though this is a misconception, do you think knowing math in your case will give you a very good jump start? Or do you think having a math background really helps you grow or propel as faster than somebody who is not in a tech role?
Good question. So from my personal experience, um, my math background has helped me in that I can really pick up the logic behind some of like the tough coding situations,
Mm-hmm.
especially in like the coding interviews and like the algorithms. But on the day-to-day job, like you're not really using that stuff every single day, or even like 80, 95% of the time. Like you're not like answering those like really tricky interview questions.
Mm-hmm.
I at least like in my experience, it seems that like being a very consistent worker, approaching problems in a very disciplined manner, um, and like having the humility to ask for help when you need it. Um, at least from my experience, I've seen that like that's what propels people in a career. Um, and it's kind of weird to say this, but in coding, what gets you ahead isn't necessarily how good of a programmer you are. It's more about like, how hard you work, how disciplined you are, how humble you are, and how well you like are able to communicate with your team.
Yeah, I know that part we will talk about that, how team work, or there are some non-technical skills, I would say soft skills, are equally important as some of the technical skills you need for those roles. So the first misconception is that you need to be a math genius to be able to work in tech. And like you said, that discourages a lot of people with diverse skills, from communication to creativity, and also from entering tech, and that limits innovation and even inclusivity, because I don't see why people should count themselves out just because they don't know math. And the fact that they don't know math means they cannot have a role or a career in tech. So, man, you are not alone if you are, I'll say, math phobia, because people are really scared of math, and because of that, they might love to work in a tech company or pursue any tech role. But as soon as they hear, oh man, if you are not good in math, this is not for you, you can't do it, it discourages them, demoralize them, and they kill that dream. Who knows? Maybe that is the field you excel. So I will just encourage you to go for, like what Chris said. It's good, especially if you are building on the building side or the engineering side. Once you get in, you can still learn and come up with some good logic to achieve whatever purpose for which that logic is being written. And another thing I would like to ask is, do you need to be a computer science degree, or do you need to have a computer science degree to succeed in tech?
So from my personal experience, um, I would say strongly no. Just because like I learned how to code on my first job, first tech job, and I've never, to this day, I've never taken a computer science course. Well, I'm taking like a online, like self-taught course now, but this is like 9 years into my career. Um, so like throughout my whole career, I never took a computer science course, and I learned how to code on the job. So I don't think you need a computer science degree to have a successful tech career.
All right, I think that is another big misconception. And to add to what you just said, there are a lot of roles. They are both technical and non-technical roles. So you might be working as an HR for a big 10 company. So you are in tech, but you are not doing maybe writing code or being a developer, an analyst, DevOps engineer, or QA developer, or whatever technical role that is. So you don't need to have a computer science degree to succeed in tech. So if you're scared that no matter your background, you can excel or you can get something to do in tech. So please do not limit yourself just because you don't have a computer science degree. And I'll also urge you to share some of the um, myth or misconceptions that you have encountered yourself, because you started off with a math, and I asked the question about the computer science. So I know you have others you like to touch on.
Sure. So I think about one of my colleagues who is in my, I guess, my programming team with me. So prior to working for my company, he came from Amazon.
Hmm.
However, um, he doesn't have a college degree. Um, he actually started his career working in like a data room, like a rack and stack. So if
Hmm.
you just imagine a bunch of big servers, his job was to pick them up, move them, make sure they were like not getting overheated, and just make sure that they were functioning. So he pivoted from there to a help desk, like IT, like help desk job. And then from there, he learned how to script. And then he was able to land a job at a place like Amazon in a tech role. Um, So you don't even need like a college degree
Mm-hmm.
to be highly successful in tech. Um, so that's another misconception, I think. And looking at his career path and like talking with him, he was physically moving like heavy equipment. So he wasn't even scripting. He wasn't even looking at a screen. He was like doing like manual labor basically. And he was getting paid very well. And he could have stayed in that role and been paid just fine, non-coding tech role. But I mean, he wanted to, progress. But um, I didn't even know such a job existed in tech, and I never thought about it. But it's very common working like at a data center or server center. Um, so like right away, that's another misconception.
Yeah, and I have
For
a
like a
question
new job.
about I have a
Yeah.
question
Hmm.
about that because I've also heard that if you don't have a degree, yes, you can start, but you might not be able to grow into a leadership role because most of these companies require you to have at least a first degree so that you can be promoted to a leadership role. How do you want to say senior role? A leadership role and become one of the giants in the company. So I don't know how true that is, or that might be company by company basis. So I'm not sure if a first degree
Hmm.
might be needed for anybody in tech to grow into any leadership role.
Yeah, good point. I think, or at least from what I've seen more recently, a lot of tech companies are starting to do like almost like apprenticeships. So you start working for them after high school in like a lower level role, obviously. And as you stay on with the company, they do paid training
Mm-hmm.
because for them it makes sense from a business perspective because they're not spending that much money to train you, but you become very, very valuable as far as the skills that you learn. And if you keep iterating that kind of pattern, they give you more skills, you become more valuable. At least from what I've seen, people will stay with a tech company for let's say 5, 6 years after high school. They'll get trained up and they'll be able to contribute massively, all without having a college degree. So all that to say that there are ways to progress in tech without necessarily having a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And just to like wrap up the story, um, with the explosion of AI,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these data centers are being converted to power a lot of these AI systems. So a lot of these folks who have just come out of high school and are working in data centers are actively being retrained to manage these AI data centers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so all that to say that you don't necessarily need even a college degree to advance in tech and get paid massively. So I'm just going to wrap up there and hand it back to you.
All right. Yep. So that is true because I've worked in a data center environment before, and like you said, we have a lot of roles there too, all from physical security to the DCEOs or data center technicians who take care of this heating and cooling, to the actual coders. Who those are there are a bunch of stuff there. I know people who were working on racks, like you mentioned. They build racks and put in the database servers and other servers, the network servers, and people who even decommission those racks. And I've seen people start from that and grow into different roles to become DSMs or data center security managers. So that is very true. And we keep preaching that you don't need a degree and you do not need that first degree to grow, to at least start in any tech role. All right, then I think there is another misconception about those in tech. I don't know if that is true for you. So all of you are rich, super heavily rich. I'm not sure true how true that statement is. And because of that, there are a lot of expectation for those who work in tech. So far as you're in tech, you think everybody thinks, oh man, if I go to Chris, financial, I know Chris is sorted. Chris is like good because he works in tech. He's expected to have money. He's expected to be very okay financially. Is that the case?
Good question. Um, so I think I would say 80% yes and 20% no. Um, at least like compared to like the median salary in the US, tech workers do tend to get paid at least on the higher end. Um, but I think like even within like the quote unquote higher end, um, there's still like a very big range. Like there are some folks who are, making like 100K a year, and then like people that I know who make 100K a year, and then I have friends who are in the 300K a year, and this is like at least in the higher end, there's different buckets of how you get paid. So there's like a base salary of
Mm-hmm.
like, let's say like 175K. For my friend, this one specific example, his base salary is 175K, and then he gets paid a bonus based on his performance. So that can range between like 10K to 70K. He works at Amazon.
Oh.
And then he has stock options. So if the company has a good year and the stock is high, he can sell some of that and make even more money. But he's like in like the very high compensation tech case of like the 300s, whereas I know people who are like more towards the 100s, and then I'm kind of like in the middle of those two ranges. But it really just depends, and a lot of people don't really think about the taxes. So like we have, at least in the U.S., we have the marginal tax system. So the more
Mm-hmm.
money you make, the more you're taxed.
Yes.
So just because like the number is high doesn't mean you get to keep that same amount. And so that's like the 80%. And then the 20%, um, it really just, I mean, no matter how much money you make, like it really depends on how you spend it and how you like invest in it. Um, so I know friends who, or I have friends who are like closer to like the 175K range who like kind of struggle. Well, not really struggle, but like aren't like balling because they spend money on things that are costly,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like investing. And then like me personally, um, I'm a very like cheap person. So like I haven't bought shoes in 2 years. Um, like I pack my lunches. Um, I'm very cheap, but like 2 months ago, I just bought my second rental property and I'm fixing that up.
Oh.
So like like there's like yeah, people get paid well in tech, but also like it really depends on how you use it. Like I drive a Toyota. I've had it for many years. So I'm very cheap, but like I try to be frugal and like make good decisions with my money. Um, I commute an hour to work, whereas some of my friends live 15 minutes away. So just to wrap up that question, I don't want to be too long-winded, but um, I guess so 80% you make good money, but there's a range, and then 20% it really depends on how you use it and invest your money. So I'm gonna wrap up there and give it back to you.
Yeah. I was laughing when you said you cheap. We have a caller on the line, so let's see what. Let me see if I can add. Hello. Memo
Hello.
Ajo Mawakwa Babaho for Life Radio. Uh, can you tell us who is on the line and where you calling from?
Okay, my name is Mike. I like the program going on. I have some kind of questions to ask. Um,
Okay.
just like you guys were saying,
Mm-hmm.
the misconception. Previously, it used to be about nursing. You see a lot of people going to nursing. Now, a lot of people are drifting to the IT or to the tech. The idea is that you see all the tech guys driving flashy cars, make money, and do all that stuff. Is it really true? That's what is going on, or what is it about? And then Most parents nowadays pushing their kids into the tech side. And then what kind of the tech courses or what kind of the tech field is best for really the immigrants to go to?
All right. I think those are very good, important questions, and we thank you for joining and sharing your questions and ideas with us. Yeah, maybe I'll start with the very first one. Like Chris mentioned, people make good money, but they still live from paycheck to paycheck, uh, probably because of their lifestyle or their life choices. But when Chris said he was cheap, I was laughing. But I wanted him to say I'm a minimalist because you don't need much to be happy. You don't need much to live a better life. And to me, less is more. So I don't see why I should do something that I cannot fund. So if my budget
Right,
wouldn't allow me to do something, no matter how much I'm earning, I'm not supposed to do it. Don't do things you can't afford, or don't live a lifestyle that is expensive or above your paycheck. So assuming you are earning like 100K and you want to live like you are earning 200K, you definitely be in debt. And yes, you might be driving flashy cars here and there, but you have to struggle to pay them. If you are not lucky, those cars or those properties might be repossessed because you cannot keep up with whatever income you are getting unless you have other side gigs that brings in money to help you fund those kind of lifestyle. So I wouldn't say it's 100% right, but that is very subjective. If your lifestyle matches with your income, that is great. But I would prefer living a low key life, saving a lot of money, investing that money for my future self and to be happy and live comfortably. Because you are, like I've said, you don't need so much to be happy. So that is very dependent on the individual in question. And again, sometimes it doesn't even matter how much you make, because people make
right,
a very good income and still manage it well to the extent that they are very comfortable. They have a good amount saved and a good amount invested. But there are people who are living like getting huge money, but they are still not
right.
happy, even with themselves. And they can't even manage their money and they are always in debt. So with that one, that is what I have to say. It depends on you, your mindset about investment or financing, your personal finance, and your life choices. Before we go to the second part where maybe why parents are pushing their kids into IT and the kind of courses they should go in as immigrants, I will let Chris maybe add to the first question before we go to the second one.
Sure thing. Thank you. So yeah, thank you for calling in. And kind of like to answer your question in two ways. And I don't mean to be like, cagey or secretive, but um, I think the salaries are good. Again, compared to the U.S. average. And something to consider is that um, at least for the folks that are like kind of flashing. So like I to kind of admit some things. So like I'll go to Vegas every year, like Las Vegas, and you'll see me on social media. But what you don't know is
Well,
um, like I go to the Amazon conference in Las Vegas or the Google conference in Las Vegas, and my company will pay for my room and my flight. So like I'm not paying to go to those places, for example. But
right,
it may look like I'm flashy going to Vegas every year, but like I'm not paying for it. So like even in tech, like if you see kind of things that are a little bit flashy, just know that like
right,
it may not be them who are paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I know some people. Well, I'll take one of the owners of my company, for example. We might go to like a very nice steak dinner um, for like like after hours, after a long day at the office. But he's writing that off in taxes because he counts that as like a business expense because
lost.
he's taking his employees directly after business hours to a business dinner. So we'll order very nice food, we'll get wine, it'll be a good time, and it's a very expensive, like, $300 dinner. But at the end of the year, he gets to write that off, and the government will like reimburse him for that amount. So like just because you see like the very flashy things doesn't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
mean that like you're even paying
They're
for it.
paying for it.
Like all that to say that like in tech, there's the money aspect, the salary, but there's
Hmm.
also like these kind of non-obvious ways to like finance it and finesse it so that like you're not really picking up the tab.
Well, that's very true. And I
And
even
and that's something
Well,
a lot of
very
people
well.
don't
Let
know.
me ask one more before I hang up.
uh,
Yeah.
What I was asking, because most people talking about cybersecurity going to a different field. Which field is easier? Or let me say it's easier. It's the best field that people should get into. Those who are new to the field, to the cybersecurity or networking or cloud or what field should we go into?
yeah, that's a good question, and I would say it depends on a whole lot of things. Yeah, because before you can decide which field to start, you have to know who you are, what you're interested in, and maybe your career path. Maybe there is a role or there is a goal you have for yourself. So if you see yourself in a certain role in a certain number of years, that might determine what you want to pursue. But I know most people want to go to cybersecurity because there are a lot of, I would say, training schools. They are actually not boot camps, training schools where people are enroll others for 3 months, help them prep them, maybe help them build a very good resumes and uh, prepare them for tech jobs. I have there are pros and cons of that engagement. Yes, you can get the knowledge, but some people do stress on the job because they don't go to the nitty gritties when they enroll in such courses. Some of these instructors are very good. They've built an ecosystem where you can draw knowledge from different people, and even if you get a job, they can support you depending on where you're coming from. Now, with the invent of AI and the cloud computing, if somebody is starting from maybe the ground up, I will really want the person to start from looking at either cloud computing, any aspect, because cloud is very big. If you want to look at whatever role that can get you into knowing how to work in the cloud, that is something I would recommend. And again, AI is the new ish, and AI is going to be with us for some time. But maybe once you build or you get into it, if you can identify an AI role that you can grow in, then you jump on that. But to get your foot in the tech world, first understand the basics. Like Chris said earlier, you have to understand some stuff because you can't start working and maybe always asking quote unquote questions which will make people ridicule you. No, we don't expect people to do that. So these are maybe what I'll propose, looking at how the trend now and where tech is leading. And I'll let Chris also add. He might have something to say about that. So, what would you recommend for somebody who is thinking of maybe going to tech? I'll even add without any tech experience or background.
Mhm. So I think, hmm, I want to say cyber. I don't want to be too repetitive, but I think cyber is one of the most amenable ways to kind of get started in tech. Um, and I have friends, or I have some cousins who did a community college degree in tech focused on cyber, and they found that to be like a very like good way to kind of get started in tech. But um, just because you get your first role, that's kind of like your foot in the door. You
Hmm.
still need to like really level up. as far as like learning what a server is. And I didn't know what a server was for 8 years, but like in my current role now, like there's folks who don't have my fancy degrees who were teaching me what a server was.
Yes.
Um, and so like I think that's like very fundamental. And then like again, I didn't really like I worked in the cloud as far as like being in a data science, data engineering role,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really understand what it was until I got into this role. So cyber, um, computing fundamentals, and cloud, I think are kind of like the basics and are a good place to start.
All right. That is interesting. And like you said, it depends on some other factors. Obi a wo pɛ sɛ wokɔ mu no, I believe you know yourself, you know your strength. And some people are analytical, some are visual. There are so many tech roles. So getting your foot into the role is the most important. And once you go in, you level up, like Chris said. We will take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Obapa Ventures. Obapa Ventures has been sponsoring this program for some time now. So here BBR from Kente, from wax, sandals, beats, lays, authentic drinks, anything you want to use for any kind of program, wedding, baby shower, bridal shower, engagement, funeral, whatever program you're doing, you can get all these items I mentioned and more from Obapa Ventures. You can reach out to her on 571-278-8663 or 571-278-6417. Or ɛyɛ DMV importer mu ha obetumi afrɛ Obapa na ɔbɛma wo nsa ka biribi a wohia. Ɔhyepe out of state nso nti baabi a wowɔ bi a wofrɛ no na wokyerɛ no deɛ wopɛ a obetumi ama wo nsa ka. You can also email her on barbaraeduchum@gmail.com. And on Facebook, if you look for Obapa Ventures, you'll be able to find her. And on Instagram too, it's Obapa for real. And at TikTok, so at Obapa Mami Owusua. Obapa, God bless you for always helping and sponsoring us. And DJ Mike, God also bless you for supporting us each and every day. So we will continue the program, and I think we have about 4 minutes to 8. I think time is fast spent, but we'll quickly touch on some other misconceptions. So, Chris, before we wrap up, maybe I will let you talk about a couple of them and we will wrap up the show.
Sure. So so I think like a really good soft skill that we didn't touch on as much is kind of understanding like where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of like practically explain that, when you come into the company as a new tech worker, like all you're really thinking about is, can I do the job well? Can I perform according to like the expectations? But something that I've seen for people who like get promoted is understanding things like the company culture.
Mm-hmm.
So like whether it's a big company, a startup, and how like that affects the nature of the work, um, understanding or having some understanding of the industry that you're in. So like there's tech like healthcare tech versus like what like SpaceX and Elon Musk are doing. And those are very different tech roles. You're
Yes.
still required to code, but like you need to know like a very different context of like what your product is in. Um, so I think just having that like situational understanding, in addition to the skills, are very important. And I think like to be promoted and like to be like a leader or a manager, you like really having that kind of contextual knowledge of like where you are. Um, I see that to be very important.
Yep. So that is very true because somebody who is in a healthcare working as in tech might be completely different from somebody who is in a fintech. So understanding
Right.
the industry or understanding what the company stands for, even knowing some of the products which you help build, help shape you, and it can help you get promotion. or get promoted within the company. And you mentioned about the company culture, understanding what their mission, their vision, and I'm so big on teamwork. If you know how to work with other people and communicate effectively, because that is one thing most of us don't usually do. We will like to hide our faces and be behind the scene and do all the work without even getting noticed. So what I'll urge people is they should get when they get a chance to talk, they have to project themselves and whatever they do, and that can also help them get promoted. And there are some other misconceptions about AI and automation. Because most people think with that, they're going to lose their jobs. But I'll urge people to also eliminate this fear and look at the opportunities this AI and automation present so that they can upscale for any new roles that might come with it. And there's also a misconception about people having work-life balance. I know this is kind of true because some companies have a very good policy or benefits that help people live the way they want and still get their job done. But some also come with a lot of stress, and people are burned out because they have to sit overnight to research and do a whole lot. And there are also about we already talked about everyone in tech earns six figures, which Chris said is 80% true, but 20% false, which is very true. And tech is not only for young people and for men. 'Cause people think, oh, tech careers are male dominated. So even if our sisters want to go in, they're like, oh, say minya bema, take the minya bema. So that is never true. Tech is for everyone. If you are ready for it, you are ready to study, and it's a fast-paced, I'll say industry or fast-paced career. So if you like learning and want to keep up with the new technologies, the new tools, then you will always not be left out. You will grow into whatever role you want and be 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 the best in whatever you do when it comes to that particular role. So these are and one solid thing is solitary. People think tech nets or tech people are isolated. They are solitary. They don't have any social relations. They are stuck to screens, and all they know is their screen, their keyboard. They don't have life. I'm not sure, Chris, if you've heard about this, because people think, oh, if they work in tech, if you see them, they look some kind of way. They are not socially conscious. I'm not sure how that true that statement is. I would like you to comment on that. We're about wrapping up, but are tech workers actually awkward social nets?
Um, Honestly, I'd say that's like for hmm, for 70% of people in tech, I think that's false, and I think for like 30% of the people in tech, that's true. So I'd say it's mostly false. Um, and just to like elaborate, like there are so many different like kinds of personalities in tech. Um, like you might have people who are like really like good quantitative PhDs who are like not as social, but you also have people who are just like normal people. Like they have families, they have, friends, girlfriends, they drive Teslas. So I feel like the tech population doesn't differ that much from like the rest of the population. Like most people are social, like a small percentage are not as social. So in that way, I feel like the the tech population doesn't differ that much from like the larger population in general.
All right, because initially when I wanted to go into tech, I thought that was true because most people think tech guys don't have life and all they care about is their computers and their screens. So everywhere you find them, they are on one from one screen to the other. But like you said, so it's not like 100% true. So it is true to some extent, and you put them into the 70% analogy, which is very true. Before we wrap up, I would like to say a big thank you to Dracy who's been supporting us from North Carolina each and every week. God richly bless you. And Kissy too has been supporting us from Connecticut. God bless you for supporting and tuning in each and every Tuesday. So this is where time will permit us to bring the show to. So I will let Chris give us his closing remarks, and we'll call it a day.
Sure thing. So yeah, thank you for having me on this program. Thank you to all those who are out there listening. Hopefully, I was able to provide some kind of clarification as far as like what a tech role kind of is, and to hopefully clarify some of the misconceptions that are out there about tech. And hopefully, if you're thinking about tech, seriously, I really hope that you kind of make the jump. And there are so many ways to get involved. So yeah, thank you all for listening.
Yeah, and we also appreciate your time and thank you for being on the show. And I hope this is not going to be the first and the last time we're going to have you on the show to have such a discussion. So we will appreciate you. And I've learned a lot from our conversation. And big shout out to Mr. Michael for joining or calling in to also ask the questions about the lifestyle and the kind of tech roles to start with. We appreciate your time and the information you came to share. So, yɛde dwumadie no ɛbɛsi ha na menim sɛ dasɛnɛ bɔne bi ansi a Nyankopɔn ɛbɛyɛ yɛadom ama yɛsa ɛbɛhyia. Also, may the Lord help us to protect ourselves and to go throughout this week. And like we said, we have a few days to end 2024 because we are in the latter part of November and we are getting into December soon. And happy Thanksgiving in advance to everybody. I know we are in Thanksgiving week. I know people are going to have time, spend quality moments with their families. Enjoy yourself and stay safe. And I know a week today we will meet and talk about a special topic which all of us will benefit from. God help us all until we meet again next week. Ti anyumu isi na wan timin kan bi mu a na kyerɛ sɛ dwumadie no asi. Nyankopɔn yɛ adom a na wɔtwe sɛ nnɛ yɛbɛhyia. God bless you all.
wowɔ nkwade ama wabɛ mu nsuo bɛtɔ ne nsuo ne te a ewia bɛbɔ nte bensu sɛ wiase kora bɛpo ebusuafoɔ bɛyi wama twɛdi apɔnsi n'ani wɔ ne mma so ma wakomentu osu a wusua rawu a wudie na wufɛ mu nyinaa ɛboro wo so ano ɔhyɛ pante yɛ a wunni akoma yɛ nyankopɔn wehu mmɔborɔ kɛseɛ de ma ne mma wɔ kristo ne ho ntɔn ne de a wɔda wɔ